Hi everybody. Welcome. I'm so grateful that you've joined me for this workshop all about inner wintering. I feel like it's such an important topic and it's one that doesn't get really spoken about enough these days. And just the fact that you're here shows me that you're ready to go a little bit deeper into inner wintering and really connect more with that winter energy. So, this workshop is all about slowing down, tuning in, and finding the courage to really embrace those quieter, darker months and those inner, quieter, darker parts of yourself. I think it's really about stepping away from all of the hustle, bustle, and the overwhelm that modern life has kind of associated with this time of year and just really reclaiming the magic of the season in your own way. So, in this mini workshop, we're going to be diving into what inner wintering actually means and why it's so important. We're going to have a little look at some of the traditions of Yule, the deeper meanings behind them. We're going to have a little look into the story of the Holly King, how it ties into the cycles of life and death. And of course, because it is the Wild Goddess Mystery School, we will be really diving into the wisdom of the Kaliak, who is the crone goddess of winter. We're going to be looking at how she teaches us to really embrace endings, rest, and introspection. So, before we dive in, let me just ask you a few questions. You can pause the video and journal on them if you like, or you can just take a few moments to tune in and see how you really feel about them. So, how are you feeling about this time of year? Do you find yourself overwhelmed? Do you find yourself excited? Do you find yourself a little bit disconnected? Often we can feel a sense of a real strong overwhelm by all of the endless to-do lists, all the holiday obligations, the parties, and that societal pressure to make everything perfect. Is that something that you're feeling right now? Because if it is, you're absolutely not alone. It is such a stressful time of year. It's kind of the way that it's been made by society. But the good news is you get to reclaim it in your own way, in the way that you want it to look, and the way that it feels good for you. And that's what we're going to explore together in this beautiful workshop. So, what is inner wintering? Let's take a look at this first. So it's really the practice of aligning more with your natural rhythms, the natural rhythms of the season. And it's all about slowing down, retreating, and reflecting. Traditionally, we are cyclical beings. That's who we are. We live in line with the seasons. Our modern society is quite linear and it sort of almost forced us into this linear way of living, which really doesn't technically align with who we are and the way that we're supposed to be. And if you think about nature in winter, the trees have all let go of their leaves, they're conserving their energy. You've got lots of animals that hibernate. The earth itself is actually resting. Nothing's rushing, nothing's striving, nothing's forcing. But everything is still preparing for that renewal. Everything's still preparing deep down. But what do? We push through and we fight against that natural flow of the season. We hold ourselves to the same pace that we've lived throughout the year. We feel like we've always got to be in like summer mode. We've always got to be on. We've always got to be going. And then we wonder why we end up being burnt out, why we're so tired, why we feel so disconnected. And to be honest, why we feel so irritable this time of the year. Even though it's such a happy time and you're like, yes, Christmas holidays, there is this sense of stress and overwhelm and irritation and rush. It feels like everybody's rushing. But inner wintering invites us to pause, to listen to our bodies and to listen to our souls and to just step back and ask, what is it that I need right now? What you don't need is this huge overwhelm. You don't need 1,000,001 holiday parties that you feel that you've got to attend. You don't need to spend thousands and thousands and hours scrolling or shopping for the perfect gift. What you do need is that permission to rest. It's not about being lazy. It's not about being unproductive. It's actually about recognizing that rest is such a vital part of that cycle of life. We need it to rejuvenate, and without it, there is no growth, there is no renewal, and there is no magic. So, in our society, we don't really honour the seasons so well. Winter used to be such a sacred time. It was the season for rest, for storytelling, for gathering with loved ones. But it has become quite a chaotic mess of consumerism now, as many people feel. I think many people feel into the same way. So when you actually think about the holiday period, the Christmas period, there is this pressure to create these perfect Christmases, these perfect meals and amazing gifts and perfect memories, and be going to all the things and doing everything. And it is completely exhausting. And what gets lost in all of that is joy and the quiet, simple magic of this time of the year is being sucked out of it completely, because we feel like we have to be going to these constant, over commercialized events. We've got to be paying a fortune to go and visit, take the kids to see Santa. You've got to spend a load of money on presents. You've got to go to all of the different events that feels like they're constantly growing every year, and it just feels like a lot. And no wonder so many people get so stressed out by the time of the year. We've almost got to a point where it's like we seeing winter as something that we've got to endure rather than something that we can embrace. And I think it's why so many of us are really feeling this deep, like aching discomfort this time of year, and why we're feeling so disconnected from it, not only from the season, but from ourselves during the season, because we're so out of sync with it. We're so out of sync with ourselves. And when you actually think about it, winter isn't a time for more. It's actually a time for less. It's a time for doing less, less striving, less noise. It's a time to really connect more. It's a time to slow down and open the door to something that is so much more profound. We don't want that burnout. We don't want to have the joy sucked out of this time of year. What we really do want is that still joy, that quiet joy, that peace that really we should be embracing to prepare us to move into the springtime. So when we look at inner wintering as a practice, what does it look like? At its core, it's all about slowing down and reflecting. And it's about asking yourself some questions. And again, if you want, you can pause the video and you can journal on these right now, or you can come back and do it at your leisure. So just ask yourself, what went well this year? What didn't go so well this year? What things do you feel that you've outgrown? And what things do you feel that you want to carry forward into the new year? It's so important to honour everything throughout the year. It's not about making a list of resolutions or beating yourself up about what went wrong, what you didn't achieve, what didn't happen. But it's actually about honouring the journey. It's about looking back and thinking, okay, what went well? What was I aligned with? Because you could have some things that you've set yourself at the beginning of the year that you really wanted to do. And halfway through the year, you realise, okay, these things don't resonate with me anymore. I don't feel interested in them. And that's your journey, that's your growth, and that's honouring that. So when you take some time during the winter to really reflect on these things, that is what you're doing. You're honouring what you've learned throughout the year, and you're actually then able to use that to plant the seeds to grow forward into the future. So if you think about it, you can really use this season as fertile ground. So just as the seeds germinate in the dark soil, they're down there, they're growing. That's a bit like your dreams and your intentions and everything that you want to take into the new year. So they might be in the darkness. You might not be able to see them because they're so deep down, but it doesn't mean nothing's happening. Just like the plants and the trees, just because we can't see the roots, we can't see the seeds, doesn't mean that growth isn't happening under the ground in that darkness. It's exactly what you need. You need the darkness to be able to actually grow things, just like we do when we're babies. We growing in a womb that's literally dark and full of water, because we need that time. We need that quiet rest time. And this is when you can really think about your intentions, your dreams. You can sit there in that quiet stillness of winter, and you need the rest. You need to be able to give yourself permission to pause and rest and reset. Realize it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're not being productive. It actually means you're preparing yourself. You're getting ready for a new season, for moving forward. That's why it's so important that we embrace this and we don't just rush past winter and be like, I hate it, I want to get rid of it, it's not who I am, I hate the cold. It's not so much about that. It's about embracing what the season means, because we all love those times where we don't have to go anywhere. It's really cold outside and you can cozy up on the sofa with a blanket, the candles lit, you're watching Christmas films, or you're baking, or you're doing some lovely Christmas crafting, and it feels so introspective and so internal. And it's like you're nourishing yourself, you're nourishing your soul, and you're really nurturing those things that we don't often get to do. And it's like slowing down. And the more you slow down, the more you're actually allowing yourself to connect in with your soul and listen to the things that you want to do. Figure out, what is it I want to do when I'm out there, when I'm growing in the spring? Because right now I want to start planting those seeds. I want to start listening to myself and working on new ideas and new dreams, but in this slow, restful way. And it really is so beautiful. And it makes such a difference as you move into a new, fresh year. So, when we actually look at Yule itself, it's actually celebrated on the winter solstice, so around December the 21st, and that's the longest night of the year. So, but it's not just about the darkness, it's about that balance, because that is the day where everything is balanced. It's this liminal time, and it's such a special time, because from that point onwards, the days start to grow longer and the light is slowly beginning to return. So back in ancient times, Yule was a very, very deeply sacred celebration. Fires were lit to honour the sun's rebirth. Homes were decorated with evergreen plants such as, holly, ivy, mistletoe, which are symbols of resilience and life in the most difficult of conditions. A lot of modern day Christmas traditions actually originate from Yule, like the Christmas trees, the holly, the mistletoe. There's so much of the Christian celebration of Christmas that effectively has come from Yule. It's all deeply rooted in Yule. It's just been slightly changed. We've got the story of the Holly King and the Oak King. So the Holly King rules over the darker half of the year, and that's what he does during the Yule celebrations. He surrenders his reign to the Oak King, who then brings the return of light and life. And it's like a powerful reminder that endings are not something to fear at all. They're a necessary part of the cycle. So this is a cycle that continues all the time. This battle between the Holly King and the Oak King is always going on, because we're always moving from light into dark, and it's continuing to just go around and around in cycles, because again, that's how we live cyclically. So whilst I'm not going to dive into all of the sort of Yule traditions, because there is so many, there's so much associated with Yule, that would be a complete workshop on its own. But you can learn so much from it. You can learn so much from the beauty of both the dark and the light. There's a purpose for both of them, and that's something that we get to honor at this time of the year. And it's something that you get to bring into your life when you actually think about the meaning of this time of the year. You can light fires or candles to celebrate that rebirth of the sun on the solstice, if you enjoy solstice celebrations. Bringing in holly, ivy, mistletoe, it's basically like Christmas decorations, is honouring that as well. But also, it's a great time of year to reflect. It's a great time of year to come up with beautiful rituals that you can do to really invoke the sacredness of this time of the year, because it really is so beautiful when you understand the meanings behind it, when you live in tune with the seasons. You naturally just feel so much better about yourself. The way you move through the seasons makes more sense. It makes you more productive, it makes you more connected, and it gives you a deeper understanding of who you are, the way that you want your life to go, the things that you want to do. And you get to create all these beautiful things. You get to take this overwhelm away from this time of the year and really strip it back to, okay, what does this really mean? What am I actually celebrating? And how does that relate to me and my life right now? So we'll take a look at the Cailleach. So she's an ancient figure in Celtic mythology. She's specifically really well known and probably most known in the Scottish culture. There's also stories of her in the Irish traditions as well. But she's a crone goddess, so she's usually depicted as this powerful old woman, usually with blue skin and white hair, because she's a winter goddess. And she's actually the goddess of transformations, endings, and wisdom. So her role really is to clear the land and make way for the new growth of the spring. And she's such a key reminder that rest, reflection, and release are not only important, they're so deeply sacred. It's something that we all need to honour. You know, just as the earth rests in the winter, so do we. And that's what she helps us to do. She really wants us to honour the need for rest. She wants us to embrace the darkness as that space for transformation, because that's what we need. We really need to explore our inner world and our depths and go deep down, because that's where our true growth begins. That's where we're going to go and plant seeds. So when you go down into your darkness, into your shadows, which is effectively what the winter urges us to do. It's dark around us all the time. I mean, here in the UK, it's dark when you wake up in the morning. And for a lot of people, it's dark when they leave work or school. You know, it's starting to get dark at what time. So you spend a lot more time in the dark. So we're at a point now where people in our modern society, you know, you get so much complaints about it. So many people saying, I hate the darkness, I hate the cold. But when you actually begin to embrace it, when you change your outlook on it and the way you feel about it, you actually think, yes, this is giving me that time to go inwards, that time to really reflect inside me, to look deep down, to look at the difficult things throughout the year that have happened, to think the hard questions about what has worked, what hasn't worked, what do I want to take forward? How can I grow more? How can I plant these seeds? Where's the bravery within me that I can dig up ready to follow my dreams in the next year? And that's what the Cailleach really teaches us when you work with her. She calls on us to let go of what no longer serves. This is such a key message of working with goddesses, but it's such a strong message for this time of the year. You know, the winter clears the land. And that's like us releasing old patterns, releasing limiting beliefs, really releasing anything with intention that no longer serves you, that isn't helping you to grow into the person that you want to become, isn't really benefiting your life in any way. And the Cailleach also teaches us about strength in solitude, which is something that I know a lot of people do find quite difficult. And she is a fairly solitary goddess. Granted, she did have numerous husbands, but she's the mother of winter. She's kind of just there doing her thing, and she's actually a beacon for showing us that solitude does offer this clarity, this wisdom, and this space to connect to your inner self. I used to hate solitude. I used to hate being on my own, because when you're on your own, especially in a quiet place, it's when all of your thoughts start to intrude. But what I found, especially by embracing this my own inner winter, it's such a beautiful place to be. It might be difficult. Sometimes you might not want to feel those thoughts, but the more you can allow them in and the more you can really allow yourself to feel them, to connect with them, even when it's difficult, even when it really hurts, sometimes you need to feel them. Sometimes you need to scream, you need to cry, you need to let it out. And that's all it wants. A lot of these thoughts and these feelings are there under the surface because they want to be acknowledged, and we've not acknowledged them. So they're always hovering around until we can actually sit with them. And in that solitude, we can do that. We can connect. We can let go. we can heal, we can mend, we can see things a lot more clearly, and we can actually learn the wisdom from what we've been through. We can learn the wisdom in the hurts that we've had, in the trials and the tribulations. We can even learn the wisdom in all the joys that we've had. There's so much strength in solitude, and it's something that I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend to so many people. I love to take just an evening each week where there's no TV on. I just tend to lie down in the dark, maybe with some candles and some fairy lights, and sit with my thoughts, see what comes up, what bits of my soul want to talk to me, what's there, what do I need to know. I might grab my pen and journal. Sometimes I have some soft music on and I can go into a meditation. But I just find so much wisdom comes through. It's where I've been able to heal so much, is in that solitude. It's just such a key thing to do. I know it's not always easy when you've got a really busy family life, but just finding those moments for you, for silence, where there's no distractions, where you've got rid of the distractions because you're ready to sit with yourself. That's something I found from working with the Kaliak that she really encourages you to do, and there's just so much growth in it. And it's such a great time of the year to really go into that. And she really asks us to trust ourselves, trust in the cycles of life. Even if you can't see the growth yet, trust it, trust what you're going through, trust all of the steps, because believe me, they add up. Even when it feels like nothing's happening and you feel so frustrated, every little step is adding up. It's all going towards your growth and your renewal, and when you burst out as this new version of yourself. So when we look at practical steps for inner wintering, because we live a bit of practicality, and I do think it's really important when you're learning about new things, or when you're doing something that is requiring you to really think about things internally or for your energy, to look at ways that you can practically embody it. So how can you practice inner wintering in your own life? Setting boundaries is a huge one. It's so huge, especially this time of the year. Learning to say no to obligations that drain you is huge. Are you being invited to parties left, right, and centre, and half of them you're like, I don't even want to go to that, but you're just going because of this need to people please? Practice your boundaries, set your boundaries, prioritise your own peace and energy, prioritise what nourishes you, and find the courage to say no. Once you've done it a few times, honestly, it becomes so easy, and people respect your time and your boundaries. Then they're likely to understand what you're going to come to and what you're not going to come to. Don't just keep saying yes to everything, because it will absolutely drain you. And this is one thing that's so good for your inner winter, and it's one thing that working with Kaliak energy is so good for, setting these clear boundaries and being strong in your boundaries. Create nourishing traditions. This is something that I absolutely love. Replace those commercialized rituals with ones that are meaningful to you and your family. And it can be so many different things. You can do your personal ones, you can do candlelit journaling, you can do moonlight walks, you can do a solstice ceremony. There's so many things you can do for the solstice ceremony to create simmer jars. There's just so many beautiful things that you can start to do. Even when it comes into with your family storytelling is beautiful. You can even get everybody involved, get everybody to go off and write themselves a little really short story, and then everyone can come back and share their story. It encourages creativity, it encourages this connection as a family, and it encourages a connection to the magic of the season beyond what presents am I getting, I want this, I want that. It creates something new. And there's multiple different things you can do. You can have a look online, research for ideas, but just lean into things that you really enjoy doing. It could be family crafting, it could be going out into nature, foraging for things, and then creating things when you get back. It doesn't have to be big, massive things. It's more about the connection and the family meaning. It's all about that time together and how you can create things that feel good for you as a family and feel good for you as a person, without feeling the need to have to do all of the things that society tells you that you need to do. reflecting on the year is such a huge one as well. It's a great time to celebrate everything, celebrate your growth, look back on the year and look at all of the great things you've done, all of the magical places you've been, people that you've met, experiences that you've had, wins that you've experienced that you just didn't even think was going to happen, and celebrate everything. Celebrate you, celebrate your growth. Release anything that you don't want anymore, that's not serving you, that is just not, doesn't feel good to your soul anymore. Just let go of all that. Winter is a time to cleanse and refresh. Just like the snow comes and just, it feels like it cleans everything. That's why it's so good to just let go of things this time of the year and set new sparkly intentions for the future. They don't have to be big, massive things, but maybe just an intention for over the next few months. And take that time to rest and retreat. Schedule some time for your rest, for you, for your family. Just time to just be, to be still is so important this time of year. Embrace that. Embrace the beauty of doing nothing, the sweetness of doing nothing, because it honestly makes you feel so good. It's such a rejuvenation because you've been busy all year round, and this is the time for that break. It's that time to just be in the stillness and honour the season. Light your candles, have fun, do things that bring you joy, do things that help you to connect to the energy of renewal. That's what it's all about. It's not about following traditions and doing things just because that's what you feel you've got to do or society tells you to do. It's all about honouring things in your own way, in ways that feel good to you and that are going to be more beneficial to your life going forward. They're going to make you feel more connected to who you are as a person. That's what's most important. Inner wintering is a huge act of courage and self-love. It's a way of reclaiming your own rhythm, your own peace, living at your own pace. And it's all about reclaiming your power in a world that's constantly pulling you away from that. This is what it is. It just gives you this power to be like, I get to create my winter on my own terms. I get to embrace the things that are important to me. The season isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving. It's about finding beauty in the darkness, welcoming it in, knowing that it's not a bad thing, knowing that there's magic in the stillness and there's so much strength in that pause. In the stillness of winter, the seeds of spring are sown. And it's so important that we honour this time of year. And it's so important to step into your inner winter and really strongly embrace that and embrace what it means to you. You have the power. You get to define how your life looks. You get to choose how you connect with the seasons. You get to choose what's good for you and what you want to bring forward and what you want to leave behind. You have the power to go into your darkness and to meet it and to evolve and to heal and to reclaim everything about who you are, all of that magic. And your inner wintering, this dark liminal season, is the potent magic for that. So I just want to say thank you for watching my little masterclass on inner wintering. If you are interested in going a little bit deeper in working with the Caliac, I have an amazing podcast episode all about her on my podcast, which is called the Wild Goddess Podcast. You can find that anywhere where where you listen to your podcast. I also have a Yule meditation on there as well, so you can tune in and have a listen to those. But thank you so much. If you want to go any deeper into inner wintering and ask any questions, or if you want to work with me further, head over to my Instagram and give me a follow. It's at Wild Goddess Mystery School. My DMs are always open. And I wish you all an absolutely beautiful winter and Yule season and a wonderful Christmas. And I hope that you just all embrace your inner winters. Thank you.